Hey, welcome everyone to another edition of Blockchain in Aviation. I'm Mark Schultz with DigitalAircraft, and I am very excited today to bring to you some additional knowledge and strategies and tactics and insights on blockchain for aviation. Now, if you remember, when I started this series over 4 weeks ago now, I said that we were going to have Ideation Mondays, we were going to have Business Case Wednesdays, and we were going to have Product Showcase Fridays. And so today being Friday, what we're doing is we've taken this opportunity to combine the ideas that we have by showing some product capabilities that are actually really in production today and having a conversation around them from the business standpoint so we can really understand how these ideas and approaches blockchain are being applied in aviation. And today we're going to be focusing on blockchain in supply chain and warranty. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring in my guests here today, and then we'll do some recognition of people, and we will, just have some fun and really get started. So welcome. I have my guests here today. Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
We're good, Mark.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yeah, excellent. Kiran, I'm really glad to see you here today. Looking forward to have our conversation. Kiran, could you just quickly tell people who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Kiran Prakash. I'm an AVP at Real Variable. I come with around 15 years of experience in IT industry and have spent a lot of time in supply chain management. And half of that has been in aerospace supply chain. So I understand how the manufacturing works. I understand how the MRO and the airline operations also work from a supply chain standpoint. So that's a brief about me.
Yeah, really good. And I understand that today in our conversation, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the real variable blockchain solution. And like I've told all of you, is that what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the idea of how they've implemented it in production in a number of different cases. And we believe that will help you really understand the core application of it and how it's being used. So we're really excited to do that. Hey, Kiran, when I get started with everybody, I always like to engage our audience, and we always have people watching from all around the world. I'm looking at the number of people that are watching now, and it's always fun to see that. And so I'm just going to ask you out there, everybody, if you could help me out by sharing this live stream. It's really a big help when you can share it and other people know that we're out there live and we're talking about blockchain and aviation. And then the other thing I'd like to do is I always like to reach out to the audience out there and just ask you if you would please tell me where you're located and just give me a shout out just down in the comment box down below. Just tell me where you're located, and it's fun for us just to engage and know where people are. And people start getting in there pretty quick. And I have a repeat follower here, which is Anna Zita, and I can't remember. I think Anna Zita was from Romania. I can't remember. So maybe you could just tell me where you're from, Anna Zita. I try to remember all the followers out there, but I just can't remember everybody and where they're following from. And then I want to recognize our other guest that we have with us today, and it's LV. Looks like we might be having just a small amount of problems bringing in LV, so we'll probably just stand by on that. And what we'll do is we'll just begin the conversation. Let's see. Then we have a few others coming in. We have Ashwani coming in from India. Welcome, Ashwani. I'm glad to have you here on the Blockchain and Aviation broadcast. And it's always good to have people coming in from all around the world. Kiran, where are you located?
I'm based in Hyderabad here in India.
Okay. And the company Real Variable, where is the company Real Variable located? Where are their headquarters?
So Real Variable is based out of Hyderabad. We started our journey here in Hyderabad 5 years back. We are also incorporated in the US, and it's been a wonderful 5 years journey. We have done real life blockchain implementation solutions for automotive, logistics, and we are also getting into aerospace now. So it's been a great journey. We are very confident. We are come with very strong domain expertise, coupled with blockchain technology implementation, live implementation experience. So that makes a big differentiator for us. And our single biggest USP is our RealWare platform, which is a low-code, zero-code platform on which all these solutions are built, and a platform which seamlessly integrates with the underlying ERP or the MRO system. So we are a platform, products, and solutions company.
Yeah, we'll be jumping into that, and people will be able to take a look at that. So that's actually pretty exciting for me. Hey, I just want to check in with a few more people that are out there. You know, you know Larry. You've met Larry before. Larry's my business partner, and we do a lot of things in the industry and focusing on digital for many years. Larry and I used to work at Boeing together, which is really a great background for us. And then we have David, who's joining us from Melbourne area, the other Melbourne, Florida, not Melbourne, Australia. Welcome, David. Glad to have you with us. And then we have Jean-Marc joining us from SkyThread. They're in Irvine, California, and they're actually one of my guests coming up here shortly this week, actually, or next week, actually. I'm going to be looking forward to having SkyThread on the broadcast. And then we have Adriana joining us from Brazil. You know, Adriana, thanks for joining us from Brazil. You know, there's so much blockchain and cryptocurrency and different things happening in Latin America that it's pretty exciting to see the growth down in Latin America. You know, some of our guests have been from Argentina and Brazil, and you know, I've interviewed people all around the world, so it's great. And then let's see, we have Wade that's just joining us. He's excited to talk to us. He's there in Colleyville, Texas. Great, thanks for joining us, Wade. And let me see, I actually have LV who's trying to come back in again. I'm gonna see if we can actually get him in here. LV, hey, there you are. Really glad to see you're with us. Very good. LV, could you tell our viewers who you are and what do you do at Real Variable?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lakshmi Venkat. I go by the two initials LV. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO at Real Variable. I'm architecting solutions that are into the multi-party collaboration using blockchain.
Yeah, good. Thanks, LV. I appreciate that. And LV, people are really very interested about the company Real Variable and really where it came from and how it started. You know, could you just give us a little bit of background on how Real Variable got into blockchain and maybe how you got into blockchain?
Yes, so we started about 5 years ago. We were looking at data being the oil for the next couple of decades. So we were looking at how do we create the technology that enables trusted data across multi-party collaboration. And when the entire world was looking at crypto applications and ICOs, we were looking at applying the distributed ledger technology for the supply chain. So that is what interested on the blockchain, and also quite a number of use cases that started on the traceability and then got extended into the other areas. Those are the ones that we were able to crack. We were able to implement with some of the bigger multinationals that gave us the validation that this is a technology that is going to stay for the future.
Yeah, and we find so much interest all over the world, and it's amazing really that people are really looking at blockchain in many different industries. And one of the reasons that I engaged with Real Variable a couple of years ago is because they really were in the lead, and they were beginning to make advancements in blockchain. And then they stepped into aviation and started to take some of those things they were doing in automotive and some of the other areas and start applying that in supply chain in aviation. And so that was really, really solid and positive. Hey, just another quick call out to a couple people. I see Ahmad has joined us from Jeddah, from Saudi Arabia. Ahmad, thanks for joining us. He's been on quite a few of our broadcasts lately. I really appreciate you and your reach out to everybody. Thanks for joining. I think all of you watching today are going to find this a really super interesting conversation about blockchain because it's a real production implementation. So let me go ahead and just kind of start down our path of the conversation about supply chain, Kiran. And what I wanted to do, the way that we decided to do this is we decided to essentially take a look at the positioning of blockchain in aviation or in the industry. And maybe we could just start by having you make a few comments about a brief little slide here. And it's going to go into next into the problem statements that are affecting these areas. But Kiran, could you take a look at this slide and just make some comments about this slide and what it really means to our viewers out there today?
Absolutely, Mark. So essentially, there are four major solutions or four major pillars, I would say problem statements and pain areas, which we are trying to address through with our solutions. So the first one is the cost of poor quality and multi-tier supplier collaboration. So that is where our real collaboration solution comes into picture. where we are helping organizations interact digitally with the multi-tier supplier network from an order standpoint, quality assurance standpoint, supplier quality assurance standpoint, and also building in turn building the digital twin of a manufactured part. So we understand today's manufacturing world is where aerospace manufacturing especially is very tightly regulated and tightly integrated industry. But when it comes to tier 2 or tier 3 or tier 4 visibility, that's where we find it is not much of a digitization which has been actually done to get the multi-tier or the sub-tier suppliers digitized. So that is what Real Collab is all about, which is cost of poor quality. So essentially, we are trying to reduce the cost of poor quality by up to 30%. So what the organizations are facing today, we can reduce that by up to 30% as per our solutions.
Those primary benefits that you're stating are coming from collaboration from tier 2, tier 3 supplier collaborations on the network is what you're talking about on the nodes?
That's correct. That's correct, Mark. So it not only talks about tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, but also the non-risk, non-revenue suppliers at the tier 1 side as well. Because we understand that a lot of integration is already in place for the tier 1 risk revenue sharing suppliers. But when it comes to the non-risk, non-revenue sharing suppliers, that's where a lot of digitization work is yet to happen as per our understanding.
Yeah. And when you have some numbers thrown up there that say up to 20%, up to 80%, I mean, so I know you guys are seeing some real value from the production level solutions that you've put in place. Maybe I'll just see if we can maybe throw that question over to LV. LV, how are you seeing, blockchain really being able to make a significant impact in a supply chain process?
Well, the biggest efficiency that we see is that the information can be shared from the source itself, so it does not have to wait for someone else to translate, mash up, or then extrapolate and then send the information to the next level. That is the first point that we see. The second aspect that we see is the auditability of the information. When you have to arrive at a certain decision, that is something that the blockchain is able to give us very, very easily. And also the aspect that you can have the private collections between the different parties, so that the information can be shared on the fly in near real time. That is where we see quite a number of things. So just to translate that into business, right? So if you know that the quality of a certain component which is tested at the tier 2 is not up to the mark as per the OEM, then the OEM can actually reject that part then and there itself. It need not have come into the chain, and then it need not have to eat up a lot of resources until it gets into the next level assembly, and that assembly getting into the next level assembly. This is what we see as a potential application.
Okay. And LV, just one more follow-up question before we sort of dig into some of the details of how you're actually achieving this. Just tell our viewers again one more time, why is it that blockchain changes the situation and allows us to be able to be more successful in achieving these kind of benefits? How is it that blockchain can really make a difference over any other traditional methods of deployment of IT?
Traditional methods are always tier 2 to tier 1 to OEM, right? So which means that there is always a translation, or there is always an intermediary that is required. Even the application of blockchain for the Bitcoin is removing the intermediaries, right? So this is exactly what the blockchain for B2B on the commercial side is going to do. It is going to remove the intermediaries in terms of accessing the information and sharing the information and consuming the information. So the way that we see is that everybody created data warehouses in the 2000s. People have started data lakes in 2010s and 2011s. Now we are looking at data networks. That is something that we see as a huge potential, where multiple parties can consume auditable, trusted information from the blockchain, and no other existing technology is going to provide it at the cost that blockchain is able to provide.
And I think what we're going to do is we're going to use some specific business and use cases to be able to sort of dig into that. Now, hey, before I do that, let me just recognize a few more people. Just the loyal followers we have. We actually have Rena, who's joining us from Toronto. She's been a regular follower. Rena, thanks for joining. Near as I can remember, you haven't missed a single one. Thanks. I appreciate you being here. And I see Anna Zita clarified for us that she is in fact from Romania. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. And listen, there's a question that we're going to ask, and I'm just going to ask you guys to hold this. When you get into the details of the platform, let's make sure that we help people understand sort of a little bit of the details of it. So I'm going to let you explain later the platform that you're using and how you basically deployed that. But I just wanted to recognize Ashwani. Thanks for asking your question. And others, if you have questions, we're definitely going to bring those up. Hey, listen, the way we're going to tackle this today is I explained to you today was a little bit different. We're going to have a business conversation about a problem statement, and then we're actually going to show a little bit of the application. The reason we're going to do that is so that you can now begin to relate, how is it actually deployed? And how do we actually make those things come to reality, in a production kind of an environment? And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 3 different problem statements that exist in the supply chain kind of world. And so the very first one that we have here is supplier collaboration from a multi-tier order tracking and in-transit logistics. It's critical for on-time delivery and customer commitment in OEM tier 1 suppliers. Now, for OEM and tier 1 suppliers. So just really quickly, before we dig into that, Kiran, could you tell me why is supplier collaboration a critical element of multi-tier order tracking, when you start considering OEMs and tier 1 suppliers?
Right, Mark. So I will start with an example. We have been having a discussion with a tier 1 OEM, and what we understand is this tier 1 OEM is into manufacturing some of the airframe parts, and the requirement was they are dealing with 1,000 sub-tier suppliers, at least minimum of 1,000 sub-tier suppliers, and they are spread across the world. So today the challenge here is they don't have a visibility of when the parts are going to arrive, and they even don't have a visibility of the production schedules of those sub-tier suppliers. So as a tier 1 OEM, it is very critical for me to understand where are my parts, when it is going to be manufactured, and most importantly, whether it is going to be delivered on time on my manufacturing sites across the world or not. So this is the most important factor when it comes to customer commitment, because as a tier 1 OEM, you are responsible to go back to your customer, which is the main end customer or the OEM, with the subcomponents or the finished products. So this is one of the classic example which we have seen, where there are OEMs or there are tier 1 OEMs or tier 1 suppliers who are actually looking to address these problems through supply chain control towers and other mechanisms available.
Yeah, I think that's good. And so what we're going to do, just so all of you watching, we have 5 videos today. Now, don't worry, they're not 5 long videos. We have 5 videos that are like 60 to 90 seconds long. And so, but the reason we're doing that today is because we believe it will help you see how this solution actually gets manifested or actually gets, put into production. So we're going to jump right in and show you this first video, right now.
We also have lots of information. Now, coming to the reports and metrics, on this particular dashboard, the user can view the total number of shipments which are missing the due date, and the shipments which are arriving today, the shipments which are in transit, and all the information about the purchase orders which have been raised, and the total number of shipments which needs to be notified, and the POs which are not acknowledged, and all the inward POs. There is also a possibility in our system if there is a contract manufacturer or contract manufacturing environment which the OEM would be dealing with, and if the OEM wishes to see the make to orders, the flow would be from one particular entity to another, and how it would be going from one level to another, and that all the mapping is available in our system. So if you have a look at the drop down here, we have various regions like the regional sales entity, manufacturing hubs, tier 1 suppliers, and contract manufacturers, and so on. And in the user type, we select the admin and log into the system. So based upon the dealer, you can select and the PO number. So here if we see, this is the regional sales entity purchase order. By clicking on this PO, the linkage of the manufacturer hub PO will appear, and by clicking on the manufacturer hub PO, we can see the tier 1 supplier PO, and so on till the nth tier based upon the number of tiers available in the system. Here we can also see the PO status by clicking on the PO status. The shipment details of the laptop can be viewed here, where the ASN status is shown as not created. So since the ASN has not been created, the ASN date and details are not available. And also the delivery status, expected delivery date and delivery date can be viewed here. This is from the regional sales entity. Similarly, we can view the PO status for the shipment detail, PO status and the shipment details from the contract manufacturer or the manufacturing hub. Here we can see the need by date and the ASN status and all the other details. Similarly, from the tier 1 supplier, we can see the battery details. The battery will be components which will be going to the laptop. So there will be n number of tiers which will be supplying n number of parts to the regional sales entity for the final assembly of the product. So here we can view the shipment details of the battery, and similarly we can also see the tracking number which will be available once the details are all filled. So this is how the linkage of the POs happens, and this shows the collaboration between the various entities of the system.
Now, LV, I just want to reach back out to you and say, what's the significance of what we saw? How did blockchain enable something there that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to have?
So this is a data network that you have running behind. So the tier 2 supplier supplying to tier 1 on the batteries, and the tier 1 supplying the laptops to the contract manufacturers, and then the contract manufacturers shipping them to the regional sales entities. If you would look in a scenario where in each of their ERP systems, they would have their own values, they would have their own visibility. But here from this data network, what you're able to see is that at one shot, the person who is responsible to see, they can see whether the battery is delivered or not. For the laptop to be delivered finally, you need the components to be delivered, right? So if the components are not delivered, you won't get the laptop. So this is just a simple illustration of an example, but then you extrapolate it to the airline industry, you extrapolate it to the automotive industry, you would start seeing the misses. Everybody would like to understand the risks, right? So this actually starts highlighting the risk that this component is not being available, so that your final component is not available to be delivered to the end customer.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that this solution has been implemented at least at 2 large-scale automotive manufacturers and a logistics package carrier, and so essentially what you're doing is you're able to reach those tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers and enable access to the information and get more accurate supply chain management that you've never had before, really, because now you have that information more readily available electronically, and in the past it just simply wasn't available. That's really what's happening here, right?
That's right.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, listen, so we're going to go to the next problem statement here, and the next problem statement really addresses the cost of poor quality, especially from a non-risk or non-revenue suppliers. It's really a challenge for OEMs and tier 1 suppliers. Now, I want to start out by just asking LV, is that what is the significance of that? Why, either LV or Kiran, I'm not sure who wants to answer this, but what is the significance of having, poor quality in the supply chain? What do you really mean by this?
The cost of poor quality is a measure wherein you look at either it is the number of returns that you are getting from the end customer because of the quality, or the number of components that you're not able to use on the production line because of the quality issues, right? So one the aspect of the failure on the production line of supplier parts gives rise to 2 problems. One is the additional inventory that you have to maintain, and 2, sometimes you may not be able to fulfill your production schedule, right? The quality that impacts on the after sales will impact the brand, but also will add additional cost to you. So having the understanding of the cost of poor quality, how normally people track the cost of goods sold, if you are able to start tracking the cost of poor quality, then you are able to control it. That is going to be a 1% hit to the bottom line for most of the companies, the way that we see it.
Okay,
and that is where we see this solution is very important.
So Kiran, let's go ahead and run this video, and then I'll have you give us some comments about what we just saw. Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and run this next video.
In terms of inspection, the user can view the side-by-side comparison. This is a key feature which the major ERPs doesn't provide to the user. Just by navigating to inspection results and clicking on view details, the user will be able to land on this screen. For a particular material, the user can get the details of inspected items at receiving site. What if the user wants to have a comparison of these details with that of vendor side? Then our system is a perfect solution. By clicking on the compare inspection results, the inspected items at vendor sites can be viewed. All the deviations, if there are any, are highlighted in different colors so the user can have an easy access to those particular elements. By using these simplistic visual aids, we capture the information and then highlight based on the technology that we use, that is blockchain and smart contracts, and the information is put together and the ledger shows if there is a deviation in the inspection characteristics. This way, it becomes very easy for the user to track all the information.
Okay, so Kiran, give us just a couple of thoughts on what did we just see and why is it important?
Yeah. So Mark, what we just saw here is a side-by-side comparison of the parts which are coming from your supplier, the inspection which is being recorded at the supplier side, and the inspection of the parts which is being recorded at the OEM side. Now this can be extended to the sub-tier network as well in a similar fashion. Now what these organizations today have is all this information are siloed and they are available in their respective ERP systems. But when it comes to comparison of information between different organizations in a single place, that information is not something which is readily available. So you may do inspection, but you may not really share with your OEM. You may do the inspection, but you don't know, as a OEM, you don't know what were the parameters or what were the findings at the supplier side. So this is what this feature talks about. And yes, in an aerospace aviation scenario, we understand that the tier ones will have the 8136 and the part certificates and all. But when it comes to, again, the sub-tier parts, we are not very sure whether we have the similar kind of certifications available. So it is very important for the OEM to not only have the supplier inspection comparison visibility that the tier ones, but also for the sub-tier components, if at all it becomes necessary for a in an aftermarket scenario. So that is what inspection comparison feature helps us do with.
Yeah, good. So far we've looked at collaboration and getting better, more accurate, timely information from more people, quantity of information from the entire network. And we've also looked at managing quality and managing inspections and minimizing the cost of that. Very good. Hey, LV, I don't want to ignore some of those questions that we had before. And somebody was asking us, can you give us a little bit of technical, on this? Can you tell us a little bit about the platform and what it's based on, and so people can better understand that? Because I know you're the chief technology officer, and I thought maybe you could just comment to some of those techies out there on what we got going on.
Sure. So Real Variable has built our own low-code middleware platform called RealWare, which can connect to most of the blockchain protocols. So these solutions currently are working on Hyperledger Fabric, but through the platform, they can also work on Ethereum, they can also work on Quorum, and they can also work on any other Turing-complete blockchains that are out there.
All right, well, good. So I see we've had a few questions come in, and let me ask one more here. Oh, okay. So Ahmad asked a question here. I don't want to ignore him, but Ahmad, I'm going to get to that in a minute. You asked about how does it facilitate warranty, and we're going to get to that. So don't leave. We got one more item we're going to cover here in supply chain. Then we're going to get into warranty. So just hang on, Ahmad. We'll get to that. All right, listen. Let's just jump right in. Our next conversation that we're going to have, or the next problem statement that we have here is, let me jump to that, is actually multi-tier supplier part traceability. So Kiran, just very briefly tell us, what are we doing when we're saying part traceability? What are we trying to accomplish? And then we'll watch the video.
Yeah. So here what we are trying to do is trying to build up the part configuration from a supplier standpoint. So whatever supplier parts, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, sub-tier supplier parts which are getting attached to the higher assemblies, then subcomponents, components, and finally it is getting into the engine or the airframe OEM. What we are trying to do is we are trying to do the entire part build up from a supplier part standpoint. So if I pick up a tail number, or if I pick up a serial number, I need to know which tier 2 parts or which tier 2 or tier 3 supplier parts are attached at which position codes. So that is what this problem statement is, and this solution brings to
Okay. Okay, well, let's go ahead and run this video, and it's just about a minute long. So just take a look at it, and then LV, I'll come back to you, and we'll have some analysis of it. All right.
The user can view the production part usage by navigating to production info and selecting the material number and entering the batch number and submitting it. The user can have a look at the final assembly product, and they may also view the key components which have been from the level 1 and the level 2. The level 1 assembly information will be available in ERPs, but what may not be available is the tier 2 components information. The main USP of our solution is that for a particular level 1 assembly, the user will be able to view all the corresponding level 2 assemblies parts by different suppliers. Keeping in view of the business rules, none of the vendor or supplier information like name is all anonymous. The level 1 and level 2 information is all based on the code of the organization systems. The user will be able to view all the document related information from the system, like the vendor code, material document number, document year, material number, material name, and also the received plant code, storage location where it is being stored, and also the batch information from which batch this particular component comes from, and also the serial number. Similarly, this information is available for the level 1 also. At any point of time, the source systems are still the source of truth. From there, as and when the event happens, the real warranty system captures that particular event and notarizes it on the blockchain and then creates the distributed ledger on the blockchain. The system also provides a representative view. Here, by clicking on the view chart, the user will be able to view the tree structure. This tree structure is not a multi-level bill of materials. This basically shows what are the parts that have been used to create this particular final product. There are all the level 1s and the level 2s. By clicking on a particular level 1, the user can view the level 2s which are going into the level 1. In this way, this can be mapped till the end tier. The user can view the entire mashup of the information that is coming here.
Okay, so gentlemen, clearly you have a very nice, clean interface there. That's really nice, and it looks advanced. But LV, could you kind of tie this back into blockchain now? How does blockchain help enable traceability?
Sure. If you remember the first video, we said the demand is created, and then whether the item is delivered or not. If there is a risk in terms of the production. The second video that you have seen, or the second problem statement, is once the items are delivered, what has been inspected at the sending site, what has been inspected at the receiving site. Now this is the third one where the final production has happened, and then if you want to know what is the product buildup, right, and if you want to have the digital thread of which are all the components from which are all the suppliers. The current ERPs will give you probably the different levels of bill of materials, but what we are able to give through blockchain is that what is the part that you have supplied against which particular purchase order number, which sale order number, which invoice number, which material document number, which batch, which serial. So having that information on the blockchain helps you create this ledger. So at any point of time, if you want to go back and then look for it, you have all the information at one shot, which is auditable. And you have all the information at one shot through this data network, saying that this is what reference to your source system, and this is what has been supplied, this is what has gone into, and this is how it was built.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah, very good. So so maybe I could just ask you, one of the two of you, to answer this. Is that if we summed up the concept of blockchain and supply chain, okay, what is the value that we're getting by putting our supply chain into a blockchain environment? Just what's the summary point of that? What's the conclusion of putting your supply chain on the blockchain? What's the value?
So supply chains are already sharing the information, Mark, for the last 20 years, whether it is EDI, whether it is something else, people are sharing the information. What we are saying is that you don't necessarily have to share the information to your next year, or you don't need to wait for your next year to share information with you. All of your ecosystem can share the information. So the information sharing still continues, but instead of it is one to one, it will be one to many and many to one. That's where the blockchain will come in picture.
So what you're really doing is you're providing a more collaborative environment that's more inclusive, and you have better data, more timely data, more accurate data to provide you with those things we've talked about: logistics, quality assurance, traceability. So if we summed it up, basically what you're doing is you're capturing a more comprehensive environment, and it's being enabled by that underlying blockchain infrastructure. That's pretty much the bottom line, isn't it?
That's pretty much, yes, Mark.
Perfect,
Well
perfect.
summed.
All right. So we do have one more segment that we want to do, and it focuses on warranty. It's a much shorter segment here, but we want to make sure that we talk about warranty here today. And so let's go ahead and add in the problem statement that we have here regarding warranties. So around 1.8 billion US dollars per year has been spent in customer warranties by leading airframe and engine OEMs on an average in the last 3 years. However, the amount of warranty recovery from that is really unknown, and we know that it's much, much smaller. So I want to make sure that we understand which component of warranty we're talking about. And LV, when some of our conversations previously, you had captured that nicely for me. I just want you to tell people listening who should be interested in this next few minutes of conversation about warranty.
Yes. So anybody who is working in the quality department, anybody who is working in the warranty recovery department, anybody who is working in the customer service, anybody who is working on the the vendor coordination or procurement, I think those are all the people that are very much interested in this warranty recovery discussion.
Yeah. Now, are we talking about OEMs or are we talking about tier suppliers? Help me position who is the potential user of such an idea.
Tier ones and OEMs.
Okay, perfect. All right, now we're gonna get into that a little bit more, but let's go ahead and play the video that we have. And again, it's about 60 seconds long, I think. And so just go ahead and take a look at this.
The biggest problem in the industry today is whenever a warranty claim comes from the dealer to OEM, and the OEMs need to charge back to their suppliers because of these warranty claims. They have to prove that the delivery has happened, and also they have to make sure the inspection proof has been established at the receiving side and the customer side. They also have to make sure that the part usage proof has been established, that whether it is the same part that has been gone into that particular assembly. And also they have to prove that the warranty is in place for that part. Our system provides a one stop solution to all these problems. These are the different smart contracts that are there in the system, which will act as and when the deliveries happen. By clicking on the delivery proof, the user will be able to see the inbound and the outbound details established at both parties. And by clicking on the inspection proof, they'll be able to view the side-by-side comparison of all the inspection specifications, and they can have this highlight of the information which is the deviation. Next, coming to the production part usage proof, this will indicate this particular component has gone into the finished goods info. This also gives the additional details like batch serial number and the vendor code and vendor name, and also the material document number and the material number. And then comes the warranty proof. So here we are establishing both the vendor and supplier customer warranty information. They can also check the warranty terms, whether it is a time dependent warranty or a kilometer based warranty, that is the distance dependent warranty, and also various warranty counter links like and or can be used. Here the warranty status can be viewed whether it is active or inactive for that particular component. So it typically takes around 24 to 48 hours of time to gather all this information for this specific claim from various departments. But our system does it automatically in near real time as and when the transaction happens between the different parties. At the same time, if the user wants to look at a particular equipment number or track a particular equipment number that has come for a warranty claim, and the user wants to see whether there is a proof of warranty for this claim, all he needs to do is query that particular equipment number. By submitting this, the proof of parts usage, the delivery proof, the proof of warranty, and the inspection proof can all be viewed in a single screen. And here, if he wants to view the comparisons in detail, by clicking on the view comparison in detail, there will be viewing all the detailed comparisons. So if a user is looking at a workflow and then looking at clearing, then that is possible in our solution. Also, if the user wants to exactly look at only one specific warranty for a specific equipment, it can also be looked at it.
Kiran, I'm an OEM. I have tens of thousands of suppliers, hundreds of thousands, millions of parts that are out there. Okay. How is a solution like this going to help me to better manage quality and reduce cost that occurs through the warranty process? What's the point of all this?
Right. So Mark, as you saw, there were five distinct proofs which were established in the process. So as soon as a warranty claims comes from an MRO or a airline operator to the OEM, now it is the OEM's responsibility to identify and also, first of all, OEM's responsibility is to ensure that the part is actually supplied by them. It's a genuine part and it's not a fraudulent part. And secondly, it is also their responsibility to make the commitment of warranties to the customers. So we understand that typically any component comes with a 3-year warranty, and the airframes come with around 10 to 12 years of warranty. So that's a long time as far as warranty is concerned. Now, whatever we saw, there were 5 distinct proofs which were established in the product. So one is proof of delivery, which basically tells that this part or the supplier part actually came from this so-and-so supplier to the OEM. So this basically, when I say OEM, it can be the OEM or it can be the tier 1 suppliers as well, because they themselves are OEMs to the airframes and the engine OEMs. So it is important. Yeah. It is important for the
LV, how does the blockchain make this more efficient or more comprehensive? How is this going to help?
These are all the smart contracts, Mark. So a proof of delivery is a contract, proof of inspection is a contract, a proof of warranty is a contract. So all of these contracts work in unison in terms of saying that, okay, fine, this particular claim you can recover from the supplier, and this is the amount that you can recover from the supplier. Go ahead and create a debit note in your source system. So which means that potentially what could take for a, let us say, $200 claim, you would have spent about $60, $70 across different departments in terms of arriving at the claimable value. We are able to do it at maybe half a cent.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to say that. I didn't really know exactly what the value was, but by having smart contracts, we're actually building intelligence into the application, the platform. And that actually leads us to our next point of discussion is that I understand that you have also incorporated some additional AI-based rule, warranty elements and components to that. And so let's go ahead and play the final video. It's really brief. Just stick with us here. And then you'll be able to see how AI plays into this, and then we'll come back and have a quick discussion about that.
Various warranty rules have also been built into our system. There are different warranty rules, like which are based on the formula or which are based on the rule categories, like the supplier level or supplier part level, etc., which are very much customizable in terms of how we can go ahead. These are the kind of rules that can be set up and which can be propagated across different tiers of the value chain. Now, if you have a look at the rule preview, the claim count equal to 100 per month for this particular vendor should initiate 50% credit on the claim amount to OEM. So this is a percentage based rule. Whereas when we look at the ratio based rule here, the vendor the claim count equal to 1 per quarter should credit it in the ratio of 1:20 of the claim amount to OEM. So the rule setups can be done. Similarly, we also have the rules based on the supplier part level, where the rules are dependent for each and every part number. So if you have a look at the description, the name of the vendor, ABC Mech Assembly of material number. So this rule is applicable for a particular part number, and the claim count, when it is equal to 1 per year, it should initiate almost 50% credit on the claim amount to OEM. This not only benefits OEMs, but also benefits the tier 1s in terms of further recovery from their tier 2s. Now, coming to the supplier claims data, here we can view the claims data of each and every supplier by selecting the supplier name from the dropdown, and the frequency will automatically populate based upon the rules which are already pre-populated in the system. So here we can see a rule which is available where the claim amount is of 8,000. In the same screen, we can also view all the related claims to that particular supplier and also the rules which have been applied to that supplier.
So that's very good. So let me just come back here and real quickly for you to capture that just in a few sentences. Is it how is AI and rules and smart contracts providing greater value to that OEM and tier one?
Yeah. So Mark, what we are able to do here is we are able to build these rules dynamically. One is by the way of entering the rules which are generally understood and extracted from a paper-based agreement, and the other is through using tools such as RPA. These rules can be automatically brought in into the system through automation. So both ways we can do this. So we have done both ways, and this is where AI comes into the picture. So the ability to extract rules from a warranty agreement which is running into several pages and bringing actionable intelligence or actionable insights is where AI plays the role. LV, you can add here.
Good.
Absolutely, yes. And also, the intelligence extends to the point, right? So you have seen one of those rules. If one of those claims are there, and then the tier one is responsible to pay 50%, but then you still have to prove that that claim is because of the part that is supplied by that particular tier one. The tier one is not just going to agree, okay, I'm going to pay 50%, right? So all of that is still required, and that is where there's warranty entitlements and the AI in terms of running through the documents and then throwing up all those rules and then making sure that the contracts are executed. This is the way that we see the value of blockchain, AI, machine learning, RPA, all of this coming together.
I had a meeting one time with an individual who was in the warranty department. It was actually at an airline. It wasn't an OEM, but the same principle applies. Okay. And they were not making claims against warranties because the administration was actually too difficult. And there was thousands and tens and thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of warranty claims, which were not being processed because it was all being done too manually is what was happening.
Right.
Hey, listen, I have a question from somebody. I wonder if you could just quickly answer this for us. It says, is there a need for all stakeholders to have access to this blockchain environment or individual stakeholders? Can you just address, LV, could you quickly address security and accessibility and how having the blockchain in play, number one, facilitates that, but number two, how it manages and controls that?
Yeah, very good question. Thanks, Ahmed. So yes, ideally every participant should be on the network. Every participant should be having their own certificates. Every participant should be acting like a peer if you're talking in the parlance of HLF and as an organization. But we do not necessitate that from day one. So the key parties which are interacting, which see the value, they should be on the network. Rest of the organizations can still be a non-blockchain participant, but we would run the nodes for them, and we would be ensuring that they are all set up and they are on a shared node, where we provide blockchain as a service. We provide a shared node and then bring them to the network. When the network is solid enough and when the individual participants wants to have their own participation through their own channels, then it's seamless for us to have them onboarded because we already have them on the network in a pseudo manner.
Yeah, everybody, it's really hard for us to be able to really even give you a view into how complex this problem is in a very few short minutes. But I believed that it was a good way to approach this conversation today by showing you some of the actual production level, products that are out there, and by having a little bit of conversation around the business problems that are driving those. And we've talked today about supplier collaboration. We've talked about quality assurance. Part traceability. We've talked about warranty management, smart contracts, and how all that fits together to help manage the automation. But I wanted to just bring up here is that I know that you guys are looking to engage with people a little bit deeper. And Kiran, could you just, you're making an offer here right now to anybody that's watching and what they might be able to do as a follow-up action. Can you just basically state what it is that you're offering out there?
Yeah, sure, Mark. So essentially, what we can do is we can whether it is an OEM or whether it's a tier one or whether even if it's an airline, what we can do is we can look at the ecosystem which they are currently dealing with. We can look at applicability of supplier collaboration, cost recovery, and in-transit logistics. In-transit logistics is a critical aspect for all the participants in the value chain, be it operator, be it the OEM or be it the tier ones. So we can do a free evaluation of understanding your ecosystem and seeing whether a blockchain use case or any use case, whether it merits blockchain or not. Now, every use case doesn't really merit a blockchain. So it has to be a multi-party collaboration, and it has to be a use case where data is being shared and that data is being consumed by the other party and there is a value generating out of it. Only then blockchain becomes an apt use case.
Yeah. So I want to remind all of you watching, if you watched the broadcast I did on Monday, I talked about the process of execution. And one of the most important parts of being successful is not trying to do all of this by yourself. All right. You need to reach out to people around you that have experience in this area. Look, you may be an expert on blockchain. You may be an expert in your own OEM part manufacturing environment. And, you might be able to figure all this out on your own, but why take 30 or 40 years to go do that? Okay. Why not reach out to the people in the industry that are sitting there with happy, smiling faces and saying, let's just have a conversation about this and see if we can't help one another to be successful. And so right now, Real Variable is making an offer to you that if you're interested in just having a conversation, a no commitment conversation about what you're doing and where blockchain, applications and specifically what they're doing right now with Real Collab and Real Warranty might be able to help you in your environment, reach out to them and have a conversation. All right. So let's see, how can people get in touch with you? I think do we have a slide? I think we have a slide which says how to get in touch with you. There it is right there. So Kiran, how should people get in touch with you out there?
Yeah, you can write to us at my email address, which is mentioned here. Ram is based in US, so you can always call him if anybody is in the US. But otherwise, we are available. We can quickly reach out and quickly set up a call, depending on the availability of participants.
I don't usually put thank you slides up, LV, but this slide caught my attention. What does that say below the word thank you?
That was my initial innovation. So blockchain is all about hashes and addresses, right? So 20 is the letter T, 8 is letter H, 1 is A is 1, N is 14. So we just said 20T, 8H. So it's like a blockchain address, but then we are saying thank you. Very
nice. So you applied an algorithm to the word thank you and you hashed it, and now you're speaking blockchain to people out there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Very good. Hey, listen, everybody, before I let you guys go, I want to tell everybody what's coming up. And so just stick with me just for a second here, because we have had such a great conversation here today. Thank you. And I'm hoping those of you watching have been able to get some value out of it, some strategies and tactics. That's what I'm really going for. Coming up for the next 3 weeks, actually, it says 4 weeks. We're in week 4 right now, week 5, 6, and 7. Next week, we have tokenization with a company called Securitize. And if you are looking for places to invest your money, or if you're looking for the opportunity to be able to raise, do a capital raise for your business, very interesting tokenization of equity on the Securitize platform. You are going to want to watch that. Wednesday, I have an expert from Cranfield University who ran the Future of Flight, research there at Cranfield University. And we're going to be talking about blockchain and its application for uncrewed traffic management and air traffic management. And it's going to be really interesting. And then Friday is a special, interesting one that it's special to me, is they're doing NFTs for business jets, and how they're using NFTs to be able to provide access to a broader range of people in business jets. So you definitely want to join us next week as well. So gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. And I could not do this by myself. I can only communicate this valuable information to people around the world with experts like yourself. So Kiran and LV, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and being part of the broadcast today.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks for everybody who has joined.
Yeah.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
thanks for joining, and I'll sign off the way I always do. Fair winds and following season. We will see you on Wednesday. And if you have any questions, just continue to submit them in the comments, and we'll follow up. LV and Kiran do a good job of actually following up on comments in the box, even after the live broadcast. I really appreciate that, guys. So everybody have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.